Okay, congratulations if you made it to this stage. So quickly, the last time we were able to go through this, able to print out user, but that's actually not what we want. We want a situation whereby once you go into the route parameter, for example, if you come into your postman and you type in a user, a hyphen user, then /, then there should be some certain amount of ID here, and you should be able to access that ID. So when you click on this could be a link to somebody's profile. At least you'll be able to see the profile. So you want this ID of the user, right? So you can use the ID, you can use the email, you can select by email, or want to use an ID because the ID is also unique, just like the email. So that's what we want to quickly do and fix out. Okay, so what we're going to do quickly, we'll come in here. We want to get this from here. How do we get variables from the routes? So that is called a route parameter. So quickly, we're just going to go down to the route parameter of the user controller. So let's quickly go to the user controller. So I've already created the route parameter, commented it out. So quickly, the route parameter is going to go this way. The route is going to be user, then /, then this is how you create a route parameter. This is a variable. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be ID. It could be anything. It could be rice. It could be anything that you can think of. It could be me. It could be, it's just like a variable. So just for the sake of consistency and for understanding, we're making use of the ID. So how do we access this ID? Now that we have this, how do we then access that ID? Quickly, we'll go into this console.log. Now, to be able to access the ID, first, we're just going to comment this out because we don't need it now. So what we're going to do to be able to access the ID first is to say, is to get it from request.para. So the ID is actually located in request.para. So I just want to print it out. So we have request.param, request.param.id. Now this ID actually means the name of the ID, what we called it, the variable that we give it in this route parameter. So if you call this me, you say .me. If you call it user ID, you say .user ID. Exactly what we're trying to print out from that. Okay, so here we'll just console.log with request.param. So let's see how that parameter looks like. So if parameter goes to the URL and to get a user, we just want to get this record. This is the record that this is the variable that we want to get. Quickly, let's run that. So it's running, then we'll go back to the console. As you can see, we're able to get that which was typed in. Now, this is what we're now going to be making use of to query the database. So this which was typed in is what we're going to be using to query the database. So we'll just store this in a variable called ID. So we say const ID equal to. So that's what we want to do. We want to store it in a variable, and we cannot comment this back. And this time, we are going to be selecting by ID, find by ID. Now, instead of putting this ID, hard coding it, we're just going to put this. Oh, sorry, we're just going to put the name of the ID, the variable we declared, which is ID, which is stored in the request.id. And that's it. It's just going to do the needful for us. So let's go to our database and check out one of the IDs that we actually want to see the full record. Let's assume we want to see the full record of the second one. So this is the ID. So we just go in and paste it in the route parameters. Now you might be asking yourself, how do I get that? Get that ID. The backend developer definitely, when it's printing out, is trying to display the users. It's going to be with the ID, but the ID is going to be hidden. So you guys don't see the ID, but we are able to get it. Now, whatever the developer calls the ID from the front end is what we're going to use to query the database. So this is the route parameter that we're actually creating, and this is it. So we want to use this to query the database now and see what our results will be. So let's stop this and run this again. It's a moment of truth. Okay, still running. And let's see what is happening. Okay, I'm not sure I actually saved I'm not sure I saved. I didn't save. So let's save that and let's come to this route parameter. Okay, everything is saved now. Then we should be able to check that out now. So it's going to be a get request to a dot request. And here we go. We can see that user. That user has been printed out as expected. Okay, now that we're able to do that, it also means that we can also do for that of, edit. So if we want to edit a user, we also need the ID. But in this case, we don't want the ID to actually be in the route parameter. We want to get it from the body. That is, we want to get it from the body like this. Let's say this is the body. So we want to get it from the body. That is, what we mean by the body is that the form, whatever the user will enter from the form. You'll be wondering, how can you get the ID? As I said before now, the front-end developer, when displaying, trying to render a particular component, the ID is actually there, but they hide it, so you don't see it. So we can access that ID to be able to delete whatever it is. Now, the name of the variable that the front-end developer will call that ID, called it is just ID, right? So we're going to be in sync with the developer. So we're getting this from request.body. So we want to be able to run an edit. Is that okay? Which is a put request. And I'm here to create the parameter. So I'll just assume the parameter is called edit user. Edit user. I don't know if that's what it is called yet, but let's just quickly go and create that. I think I've created the parameter already. It's called edit user. That's good. And it takes this. So it's just a normal route. Then it takes this controller called edit a user. So we're going to fix this controller, go to this user controller and try to print that out. Okay, so from here, we're going to say module. Don't mind that it's crashing. It's because we're here to create the controller. So module.export equal to, this is the name of the controller. So we are getting this from the front end. So we actually want to use this to query the front end. So how do we do it? We can just create a variable and say, let's edit user, edit user, or whatever the case may be. I don't think I'll ever need this variable. Let me just use this one. So how do we do that? We say module, user model, the user model. So we'll bring in a user model, then we'll say dots, find and update. I think that's the right word. Find and find by ID. Yeah, find by ID and update. And you're surprised to, like, where did I get this from? You can go to Mongoose, just go to MongoDB database. So read, just read how you can actually get to be able to update a particular. There are different options. So this is just one of the options. Now, what I'm about to do is find by ID. It's because I want to find this by ID. So the first parameter is going to be by the ID that we are getting. So we've now created an ID. And the second parameter is going to be the feeds and the values that I want to edit. So this is the feeds. The feed that I want to edit is full name. And we also want what is password, just for testing purpose anyway. So we want to be able to edit this too. And on a norms, we're going to be getting this from the front end. So for example, this is the feed of our database. So whatever we are getting now will be whatever the user enters from request.body, that is whatever it is that is typed from the form, .request.body, right? Dot whatever name that we called it. But we want to make it consistent. We want to make the name that we're getting from the user to be called full name as well. And this. So this ID, we're going to also bring in that. So let's use lowercase ID because we're going to be destructuring that. Now, from the front end, we want to get the structure, get data from the front end. So it means that this is what we are getting from the front end. So const that is from the form or from the client. So const, we are getting ID, we are getting full name, and we are getting password. These are the things we are getting, and they are all coming from request.body. So this is called destructuring. So it has been destructured. So we can then access each and every one of these. So let's put in a parameter here, request and response, right? So it's going to come from the request.body. So that's what we're doing. We're trying to do the update. So after the updating, we'll just tag it with a dot then. And if there is an update, we can just, console.log at something and say, console or rest.send. Rest.send. So we are sending the response, whatever it is. So we're just going to see edited successfully. So that is it. That's what we get from the edit, right? So if we try to edit this, we get this from the edit. So let's quickly test this before we try doing some other ones. So this is what we're getting. We're getting this from the front end. We just structured it. And to be able to query your database, you do find by ID. So I place the ID as the first parameter. Now, don't get it twisted. You can just also do find and update. There is find and update. It does not have to be by ID. Now, it can be find and update. Now, if it is find and update, I'm going to place in some arguments here to place in some. So I'm going to tell it the feed that I want it to find. So I want it to find maybe by the email, that is a particular person with this email, right? Then maybe I'll have to destructure the email as well. So the email will be coming from request.body, just the way I did here. I'll add email to it as well. So you can do this as well, but I don't want to do that. I just want to do find by ID because ID is unique and password email is also unique as well. So you can use any of the two. None is actually the best, but both work perfectly okay. So I just want to, it's personal preference. I just want to use the ID. So that's the way you can query. You can use email, you can use any field that you want to use to update, but always use a unique field. Okay, so we have rest.send, we said edited successfully, and I think we are good to go. And let's save this and try to run this. So let's go to our edit. And so we have edit user. The ID is there. Then the name that we're trying to edit, we'll say the full name feed. Let's just say my name, just to be sure that we've just edited this name. Okay, and the password, I guess so. So the password can be pass me in. So that could be the password. So we have 3 columns here. So we have the full name, right? We have the password, then we have the ID. Don't forget I talked about the ID before now, that we're getting that to be able to destructure and search for that. So this is definitely what we're going to be getting from this. So it's going to be a put request. So let's try that at the moment of truth. Okay, we're getting an error. We're getting a server error. So let's see why we're getting a server error quickly. Yes, let's check that. So time for debugging. Okay, let's move our console up and try to read the message and see what we've actually done wrong. It said type model, it said find and update is not a function. No, find by ID and update. Oh, I didn't change that. Find, I forgot to change it back to the way it was. Find by ID and update. So we're finding by ID and update. So when I was trying to make the adjustments, I was trying to show you how you can use email. I forgot to put it exactly the way it was before. So let's just run this now. As you can see, edited successfully. So let's go check out that record. If we have such a record, that means right now we have my name and pass me in. It's going to be the new stuff. So let's just refresh this quickly on our database. And here we go. My name and pass me in has been edited. So this is how you can actually edit your database. It's quite simple. I'll see you in some other classes while we are able to carry out the delete operation as well. Thank you very much. Bye.